okay. I heard you. I listened. Everyone was like, oh, Alan, what's the best trait? Is there a trait list? Can you tell us the best ones? What's the worst? Why don't I use this one? Should you use this one? Look, I just shut up. Okay? It's all good. It's all good. I listened. So here I am to answer your question of, what are good traits? What do they do? And also, instead of ranking them, I'm going to tier them and categorize them as Darwin intended. Because instead of a traditional S through E system, traits in Hunt are meant to complement your loadout and personal playstyle. They're not meant to have one specific thing that every hunter at all points needs to use. They're variable. So for example, Silent Killer might not be great, but if you're a stealth fiend, losing that inhale as you prime a melee strike is just fantastic. So as a result, I'll be ranking these on a always pick to never pick / remove as soon as possible, with the rest of the situational traits just thrown into the mix. And I do stress that, situational. Many of these are traits that are pretty self-explanatory, why they're good, so I won't really go into a large amount of detail on those, but the ones that are good, I'll be sure to explain. Good? Good! Let's move on. And before I begin, please remember that like every tier list in existence, these are just my personal opinions, and you might really like Iron Devastator, and that's fine. You do you. But I'm not going to have a talent, a trait, a perk that I don't particularly like on my bar, and I'm going to have that one extra trait slot that's helpful, and you won't. Simple as that. Cool? Cool. So, let's get the bad ones out of the way first, so we can get to the good stuff. And these are traits that I would put in the never pick or remove as soon as possible category. These are traits that either have just so little use they shouldn't be picked, or if they come preloaded onto a hunter and you've got the blood bonds to spare, then they can just safely be removed for something else. Never pick. Ever. In a billion years, the first big kahuna of never pick that I referenced before is Iron Devastator, because this is a trait that allows you to remain down sights between pump action, shotgun firing. The thing is, shotguns do not get more accurate when aiming down the sights. If anything, aiming down the sight restricts your field of view and doesn't allow you to sprint quickly from it. So even if this trait was free, I wouldn't use it because it takes up a trait slot. Just leave it alone. Next off, we have Gator Legs, which is a trait that lowers your stamina consumption when in deep water. And the only way that this is getting any use is if your playstyle is like super niche, to the point where you insist on only having fights in swampy areas like you're some sort of swamp gremlin, or my ex. So for a game set in a bayou, there isn't much deep water, or water really that deep enough to trigger its effect. And even if there was, you're pretty much not spending your time fighting there, so spend your traits somewhere else. It's 2 points, just put it somewhere else. And finally, in the never use / refund column, we have Conduit. Yeah, I said finally, as in every other trait in the game falls into other camps. And yes, that even includes bolts here, but we'll get to that, and why, just patience, okay? There's like 41 traits in the game, it's going to take a while. So pre-patch 1.3, I could probably justify Conduit for like new players or players who are playing solo, because if you're bad at managing your meds, or you're just learning the game, then this trait actually had some use. Have you ever gotten into like quick play game mode? If you've ever done quick play and you've had this trait, it's actually pretty nifty, right? You don't really understand how good this trait can be until you have, you know, no medication to heal yourself with. But with the introduction of patch 1.3 and the doctor grunts, which serve as portable medkits, healing items have been easier to locate. So spending 4 points on a trait this niche, yeah, just don't even bother. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Just move along. So every other trait in the game falls into the always pick or situational. And as I said before, there's 41 traits in the game, and I've covered 3 of them, which means there are a lot of situational ones. But don't worry. I'll explain the situation they will be used in and the player that will get the most use out of them, but I'll get the always pick out of the way next because there really aren't many. Simply put, you get 15 traits in Hunt, and the following ones should pretty much always be on your hunter. Pretty much. I'd wager everyone knows what they are, at least, you know, 2 of them. everyone will probably know. The other two really are, I suppose, personal preference, and they're ones that are always on my bar personally, and they're mix and match. But at least the very first two, they should pretty much always be there, and you'll know them when I say them. But if you're not using Doctor, then my goodness, you just need to start using Doctor, like always, because it's tied for the most expensive trait in the game with Frontiersman. But oh my goodness, is it worth it? Doctor doubles the amount of healing that first aid kits give you, bringing the total health to 100 per first aid kit. Now, hunters come with 150 health, in case you didn't know / had forgotten, or maybe you're new and just straight up didn't know. And you can heal 100 of that back with one first aid kit, and the majority of weapons in the game will not just straight up one-shot you in the chest. Thus, you'll be on about 10 or 20 health, and that final health bar on every hunter is always a big block, and the big blocks represent 50 health. So if you can step away for that health bar to regenerate, then using a first aid kit with Doctor will take you back to full health. Take a little bit of a break from the fight, regen, and a first aid kit is as good as a full vitality shot. It's just crazy strong. It's so good. You just use it. Just use it, okay? Just get it. But if you combine it with the next trait, which is Physician, which reduces your bandaging time, and you can full heal yourself in about 3 seconds. If you get shot at, and you will, bandaging yourself for more health is a must. And if you can do it faster, then that's just a huge bonus. Because without Physician, your base bandaging time is 6 seconds, which is crazy long. And that doesn't sound like much, but it's an eternity in hunt time. That's 2 sparks reloads, that's 2 shots, that's 2 potential chances to kill someone, and you're using it just to bandage yourself. So that's pretty good, right? It reduces it to, I think, about 3 seconds, which is amazing. Now for the Holy Trinity, you combine Doctor, you combine Physician, and you combine Frontiersman, which is the other super expensive perk. This is about 8 points, and it will give you an extra tool slot to use. And that might sound kind of but now your concertina mines all have additional uses. Your fuses can burn more enemies, and your first aid kits now have 4 charges. So with the previous 2 traits listed, that's 400 health worth of healing per hunter, per game, not including vitality shots. If this gave you an extra medkit only, like if the trait only gave you an extra medkit use, I would still take it. I would still use it. If it said 8 points for 1 extra first aid, I'd still take it, because it's that good. But that one's more personal opinion. I think it's fantastic. The next one that is super duper personal opinion is Kite Skin. Yes, Kite Skin. I know that might be surprising a lot of you, but Kite Skin, oh my goodness, Kite Skin. For a single trait point, you get 50% reduced falling damage. Now, that might not sound like much if you don't jump off many things, but having the ability to fall from distances without the penalty of losing all of your health is just, so good. We never lose all your health. You lose a lot though, but simply by having Kite Skin, you open up so many more avenues of traversal and escape options from other players, or just the AI, that otherwise would either kill you or leave you searching for meds, to regain the lost bars. 1 trait point has never opened so many possibilities. So just get it. Just take it. Now, the other traits, there's over 30 remaining, and I do actually put every single one of them in the situational column, and it's going to take some explaining, because a lot of these are less for particular play styles, and they're more for newer players or quality of life improvements, but I'll run through them just the same, so you've got a clear picture. And most importantly, I'm going to do it in alphabetical order. Okay? That sounds great, doesn't it? Alphabetical order, yay! I know. Thank you. Adrenaline. So getting full stamina on a critical injury status sounds pretty bad. And you'd be right, it's pretty bad. But the only time this trait I think has ever been useful to me, or can even be seen as useful, is when you're killing AI. Like, you've cleared the server, right? All the players are dead. You're killing AI, and then you run into a pack of dogs, and you're out of stamina or bullets, and then the hellhounds get you low, because they'll always get you low, because the dogs are just... We all know that, and adrenaline will allow you to kill them. That's it. Pretty much it. That's pretty much what it's used for. Don't even bother. Just leave it alone. It doesn't even say gives all stamina. It just starts to regenerate. Oh, just leave it alone. Next is Beast Face. So let me be totally clear with you. If there were players like myself who didn't really care about startling crows or horses, then this trait would be in the always pick camp. 100%. Because some people, again, like myself, just don't really care about making noise because really all they do is click heads. And now I'm not in the click heads category, but I'm in the I don't really care how much noise I make because I want to get into battles. I want to fight things. And every step that those people who just click heads take, well, that's great to them because every step they take is in the pursuit of their goal of clicking heads. And for the rest of us who are mere mortals, though, who like tactics and not alerting everyone within 600 meters that hey, we're over here, then this trait is actually pretty fantastic. It allows you to cross gaps in terrain that you otherwise couldn't whilst remaining undetected. And in general, it allows you to get around the map faster whilst remaining, again, undetected. Speed is king in Hunt, and as is information. Like, the two things that are key in Hunt is speed and information. And if you can traverse faster whilst denying more information to your enemies, then that's just a huge win. Yeah, it's not good for people who don't care about making noise, but if you want to stay low and stay silent, or maybe even, you know, you really don't want that team to know that you're sneaking up behind them or coming even close to them, then just get Beast Face, because goddamn, for 5 points is it good. It's 5 points, right? Yeah, it's 5 points. Get it. Next up is Bloodless, which is not great. It's not horrible, right? But it's not great. It's effective versus crossbow users who don't kill you, and hellhound packs, and the odd shotgun that bleeds you but doesn't finish you, and frag grenades, I guess, but chances are if you're getting hit by a frag, you're probably dead anyway, but it's good for that. It would also make for a sick tattoo, the trait artwork, actually. Random fact there, but it would probably make a sick tattoo. Next up is Bolt Seer, and if you're vision impaired or you're new to like throwing knives and bolts, then this is fantastic for you and allows you to gather your ammunition back easier. And I literally mean that. If you have trouble seeing physically, or you are still getting used to finding items in game that resemble your throwing knives or bolts, then fantastic, pick this perk. It definitely fits the column of people who, it is more like a quality of life. Yeah. If you're one of those people that fit in that category, then fantastic. I hope you're making use of it. But otherwise, just leave it alone. You're just wasting a slot. Which brings me to the next one, which is Bolt Thrower. Bolt Thrower decreases rather the time at which it takes you to reload your crossbows. So if the playstyle for you is crossbow, then this is your trait of choice. It's the only trait in the game that lowers reload time for a weapon. No other trait in the game reloads weapon time. None of them. Because you know why? It would be silly. It would be silly if you could reload a Sparks in 1.5 seconds, and we all know it. But it'd just be way too strong. It'd be busted. But if you can cut the crossbow reload time to half of its original, then that's fantastic. If you're good with a crossbow and you just take Bolt Thrower. In fact, even if you're not good with a crossbow and you're trying to learn the crossbow, just take Bolt Thrower. If you're using a crossbow, take Bolt Thrower. Simple as that. Okay? It's a lifesaver. Next up is my personal favorite, quote-unquote, situational trait in the game, which is Bullet Grubber. Ah, yes, Bullet Grubber. Ah, man, do I love it. I'm a big fan of the label. And this trait allows you to have greater ammo efficiency over the course of long fights. And if you're like a adult user, then this trait will allow you to conserve more of your precious golden bullets for your precious golden gun, Scaramanga. Okay? Just, if you use Labelle, Mosin, Dolch, Bornheim, Spectre, use Bullet Grubber. If that's something you care about. It's mainly for, mainly for those weapons. Well, actually, it's only for those weapons, but it's mainly for long, drawn-out fights and ammo efficiency. Yeah, especially, I know I call it the filth, but especially the Dolch, because special ammo is, hard to come by, and, reserving bullets is a good thing. Next up is Bulwark. Yeah, Bulwark. It's super effective versus frag bombs, and it's just crippling to bomb lance users who have spent the hours. Like, imagine you're a bomb lance user, right, and you spent 200 hours learning how to harpoon shot someone over 50 meters, only to have it countered by a single trait. That's it. Like, one trait just says, no, f you. No, you don't get to one-shot me with your harpoon. I know it's taking you 200 hours to learn how to do it, and no, you don't get to. Just get wrecked. It's actually pretty decent, and for 2 points, it will pretty much always have a spot in my max level hunter trait pool. Like, pretty much always. Wait, did I say 2 points just then? Did I really just say 2 points? That can't be right. I wrote down 2 points. I have a little note here that says Bulwark 2 points. That can't be right. If that is right, get it. That can't be right. You know what? Hang on. No, I'm physically pausing Bulwark. Let me, hang on. You can't hear typing noises, but trust me, I'm typing. Bulwark. Well, bugger me. It is 2 points. Okay, yeah, 2 points. Just get it. Okay, go get it. Next up is Dauntless. Oh, baby, Dauntless. Wow, I don't even know where to begin because there is a lot here. Dauntless. A lot of people are sleeping on this trait. For one, you can disarm explosives. Like, straight up, that sounds pretty horrible, but once you realize that a good player will cook the explosive prior to throwing it at you, and if you can deny them the chance to do that, because they'll just throw it at you normally, and you can disarm it, that's fantastic. But good players will cook an explosive, they'll throw it, and then you can't disarm it. You're just dead. And that's because you're thinking of the trait all wrong. I actually argue that Dauntless is not a defensive tool, although it definitely can be, but is in fact an offensive powerhouse on par with decoy fuses. Yeah? I'll explain. So I've been calling it the Dauntless tech, which has you throwing a live grenade into where you want to push an enemy out of, like their position, but you chase the live explosive yourself, you disarm it, and then you gain the position the enemy previously held, hopefully resulting in you killing them. It's very strong, actually, in closed buildings because the smoke generated from a grenade, if you throw it in enclosed spaces, greatly obstructs your vision. Not so much in the open fields, it's not so bad, but in enclosed environments, dynamite, or rather, yeah, actually anything explosive other than frag bombs really leave big, clouds, and it becomes very hard to see. So people see an explosive generally, and they'll run away from it, and they definitely don't expect you to chase after it in any way, shape, or form before it has exploded. Usually people see you throw a nade, they run away from the nade explodes, and then they wait for you to push in after it. They definitely don't expect you to push in before it, or with it rather. I haven't done this Dauntless tech recently, although I definitely have in the past, but thankfully, after explaining the Dauntless tech to a good friend of mine, which is Patron Haplo, he went out and he acquired a clip showcasing how it works. So I'm going to run this clip, show you how it works, you get the gist of it. So, as you can see, it's situational, but it's definitely not useless. It does have its uses. You can pull it off. It's super niche, especially even more niche now because of decoy fuses, but it's pretty cool. So, maybe give it a try. For 1 point, I mean, experiment, I guess. Just, I don't know. Look, you might hate it, you might not, but I like it. It saved me in the past. Pretty rare, though. Next up is Deadeye and Assorted Scopesmiths. Deadeye, Marksman, Sniper. Yeah, they're good traits if you're using one of the many rifles that A, have a scope, B, fire more than one shot. But this limits its use to really the Vitelli, the Mosin, and the Lebel scope variants, or I suppose the Nagant pistol if you're so inclined. And good for you, for following up shots on moving/evading targets. Good job. But it really doesn't work on the Sparks. It just doesn't at all because you only have one bullet. And it's a shame too because Sparks is just so good. So yeah, Vitelli, Mosin, Lebel, Nagant. That's what it's for. It allows you to stay in your scope when you fire a bullet. You don't actually have to come out of it. Oh, and Winfield, sorry, and Winnie. Silly me, I forget the Winfield sometimes. How could I? It's patch 1.3. Decoy resupply is up next, and if you want to farm up your distraction skill, like requiring items, for blank fires, chaos bombs, etc., then just take this trait and throw 30 distractions per game. Other than that, not great unless you're god at your blank fire decoy game, but just don't even bother. Just leave it alone. Determination is a fantastic trait. It allows you to get stamina back faster, which means more melee hits, but more importantly, it allows you to cross distances faster. And it's amazing if you're chasing down someone. It's always faster. Please remember to walk until your lung icon vanishes, then begin to sprint again. than it would be if you just continue to sprint while exhausted. So if you're chasing after someone, you have determination, or actually at all, but especially if you have determination, stop until the lung icon goes and then keep running. You'll be okay. Next up is fanning, and it is the definition of are you feeling lucky punk, because my goodness, the RNG gods giveth and the RNG gods taketh away. Patch 1.3 tinkered with fanning a bit, so it's not as reliable, but crouching and not moving still has it performing pretty well. And I'll basically always grab this trait, like even if I go in with a Bornheim, right, or a Dolch, which sometimes happens. If I go in with even those guns, I will still buy fanning on the chance I kill someone and I need their single action plus fanning to defend myself. It's pretty rare that I've done that, but on some occasions, especially on the server that I play on, which is OCE, I know that the player pool isn't particularly huge, and I know that everyone runs pretty much fanning exclusively or almost without, exclusion. So I know that sometimes if I need another gun, I can just pick up someone else's. It's very rare, but yeah. Other than that, though, fanning is a fantastic perk, and if you're using any single action, just take it. Even if you're using the uppercut, right? It's still useful to maybe get that extra bullet out. Again, RNG if you're moving, but if you're crouching and holding still, it's okay if you tap it. It's all about recoil control. Next up is Ghoul, which turns every hunter into 50 health. That's basically it. If you finish off someone isolated, or you finish a team after you've taken a hit, then this trait saves your first aid kit charge, which is good. It's scary to use if you think third parties are around, but it's definitely worth using. Next up is Greyhound, which is one of the best traits in the game, and it's the only reason that I'm able to chase people down without a stam shot. Also, the only reason this trait is not in the always take is because there's some players that just don't sprint enough to utilize it because their playstyle is more stealthy. Like, they just don't sprint, really. They sprint around a little bit, other than that, they walk and they stay quiet. If you're one of those who go from place to place looking for fights, Greyhound will serve you very well. Next up, we have Horn Skin, which causes you to take 25% less damage from blunt, which is pretty useless versus hunters. I mean, not many hunters use blunt damage. That's pretty much the butt of your gun, or dusters. Not that often. Most hunters run a knife. And if they are running a weapon that has a melee attachment, they will generally choose to use that over the knife because it gives you more range. And that melee attachment, 9 times out of 10, is something that rends or bleeds, like a riposte or a talon. Yeah, you generally don't see someone charging at you with an Obrez mace, although it does happen. It's pretty rare. It's basically a noob perk, essentially. It's for those people who haven't figured out how to handle AI efficiently and effectively, and yeah, it's more of a new player trait, right? If you're scared of immolators or armors, then just take this and move on. Next is Iron Repeater, which is actually pretty good now, anyway, because the Winfield lever action is so good now, so very, very good. It's in such a good spot that this trait actually offers a pretty solid experience for those who want to reacquire targets quickly whilst aiming down the sights. And for 2 points, you can fire your weapon as usual. If I'm using a Winfield, I'll pretty much always take it. The same can be said for Iron Sharpshooter, which is the next one, which affects bolt action rifles. Same deal, but just for bolt action. Most of the time, if you hit a player with your bolt action, you'll probably swap to a pistol to finish them off. I know I will anyway. But if they're at long ranges, then Iron Sharpshooter helps you stay on them. And I'll pick it up if I'm rounding out a build, but usually I'm confident enough with the pistol follow-up, like the Winnie before it. And if you're using those weapons, why not make them better? It's a few points, take it. Next up is Levering, and oh my goodness, Levering. This trait, introduced in the last patch, 1.3, makes the Winfield a monster in close quarters. Have you ever wanted to turn your Winfield into a Dolch? If you ever wanted to, well, now you sort of can. It enables the gun to fire much quicker from the hip at the cost of precision. I could say it's like fanning, but not, but I feel like I'm explaining that badly. Instead, have a quick clip showing you what I mean.
Wait, do you see them?
Levering's dumb. So you've seen that now, and whilst the last shot was an ADS headshot, you get the picture. Yeah, it's silly. Next up, we have Lightfoot. Lightfoot's Oh boy, Life It really is a your mileage may vary perk, but I think it's quite good. It causes you to have no noise when you vault, and you jump, you fall, or you climb ladders. It's really good for those stealthy players who just want to get the drop on their opponents. You know, like you want to sneak in and you want to creep up behind them. Furthermore, being able to climb ladders silently is fantastic. If you want to sneak up on people, it's a trait that allows you to do acrobatic actions with greater stealth. A good example is if you're trying to push someone who's in, like, I don't know, the church at Healing Waters, right? They're at the top of the church, and you're stuck behind the vaultable brick walls coming from Stillwater Bend entrance. You know the ones? Having Lightfoot there allows you to vault the walls, climb the ladder, and drop down from ledges without making much noise, aside from basic movement. When you don't have it, you'll notice it's gone. When you've got it, you'll know for sure. It's pretty good. I actually quite like it. But that's because I'm an aggressive flanker, so having the ability to not make noise is really good for me. But, your mileage may vary. Next up, we have Mithridatist, which I honestly think is one of the biggest quality of life traits in the game. It allows you to stab hives without having to worry about poison lasting long. It nullifies hive bombs, essentially, and it makes the meathead leeches or the spider's bite nowhere near as much of an annoyance. This won't make or break your experience, but it's a pretty nice quality of life change. And again, it's one of those traits that when you've got it, you definitely notice that you've got it. I quite like it. Next up is Pack Mule, because getting another first aid challenge back from toolboxes is wonderful. I kid, it's not just Pack Mule, it's a lot of things, but, mainly, come on. Mainly first aid. That's it. That's the whole explanation. It's just more heals. Why is this not in the always get it? Because it can be overkill and you could spend those points, elsewhere. But I enjoy, getting back, throwing knives in a first aid kit, or fuses in a first aid kit. You can see the train of thought here. It's always first aid kit for me, but I think it's pretty good. I like it. It's a good perk. Next up is Pitcher, which allows you to increase the range that you can throw your explosives from further. But a side note, though, this only affects throwables that have the aim helper. If you're not using the aim helper, like a tomahawk or something, doesn't affect it. The little lines and dots that's shown, fuses, frag bombs, lanterns even. Actually, lanterns do use the aim helper, so yeah, I guess it would work on lanterns, actually. It does use the aim helper. I don't actually know. I don't think lanterns do affect it, actually. It uses the aim helper, but it's just the line. It's not the dots. It's not the dotted line. So no, it doesn't. Forget that. Not lanterns, but everything else that uses the dots. There we go. So frag bombs, explosives, hive bombs. You get me. Not lanterns. Why did I say lanterns? Doesn't matter. You get me. Use it. It's actually pretty good for if you want to use hive bombs. They're pretty good. If you want to use big bundles of dynamite, also pretty good. But by and large, Pitcher's not really going to do a whole bunch for you because they're kind of heavy. It's going to allow you to throw them further, but not massively further. It's basically if you want to yeet frag bombs at people from, 30 meters. In that case, definitely use them. Next up is Poacher. And this trait it's pretty niche. Yeah, it's super niche, but it's not without its uses. So the main reason that you'll find yourself using Poacher is for disarming traps silently. And this really only takes place if you're the sort of person who wants to stealth into an occupied compound and murder the people. You know the one. If you're the one who wants to creep in and Romero someone, yeah, you know the guy. Yeah. It's probably you. You're probably listening right now. You're the type of person who uses Poacher. But if you're not that person, there are other uses for it. For example, the placing of traps silently can be pretty good. I will often combine Poacher with concertina mines, and then when a fight is happening around one of the many mounds of dirt in the game, the ones, they're everywhere, it's like always behind the mound of dirt where you just do ring around the rosy, yeah, I'll quickly place a trap down on one of those sides that I know they're going to approach me from, and they won't hear the trap being put down. And if the person I'm facing off pushes me that way, it's basically a free kill. They run into the concertina mine, they go, oh my, and then they're dead. 9 times out of 10. It's great for stopping teams of 1 or 2 because that can even affect 2 people because someone pushes behind the first person and they go, oh my god, Jimmy, oh my god, you're in and then Jimmy's dead. And then you're next. Anyway, not a bad perk. Definitely pick it up. I keep calling them perks even though they're traits, but you know what I mean. Moving on to Q, which is Quartermaster, which is actually a pretty good trait. And if you're someone who uses hand cannon or precision variants of weapons, like Dolch Precision, I hate you. You know the ones, yeah, normally you can only carry a large weapon and a small weapon, but Quartermaster increases that to large and a medium. So, you can use a Labelle and a Romero hand cannon, a Mosin and a hand crossbow. You get me? Or a Dolch and a Dolch precision. Or if you're feeling, extra salty, Dolch precision and Dolch precision, if that's the way that you want to play it. Old school Quartermaster, small trivia fact, was actually allowing you to carry 2 large weapons. So you could carry a Mosin and a Caldwell Rival. And back in the day, Caldwell Rival was quite good. So, it's come a long way from where it was. It's just a lot more manageable now. Next up is Resilience, and reviving with a 100 HP might not sound like it's a great deal, because it's a trait that requires you to die to be of any use. And even then, you have to be playing in a team so that they can res you. It's super niche. But it does have uses. It stops people from poison bombing your body to deny the resurrection. If you get revived and you have resilience and there's a poison bomb on your body, then it won't kill you. You can take the damage and manage to run out in time, which is kind of cool. It'll stop you dying also from getting one shot by a lot of weapons. Even big weapons, if they hit you in the arm or the leg, it happens. It's got some uses. It's one of those traits that when you've got it, it's kind of nice and you feel a little bit safer, even if you're really not. Next up is Salve Skin, which is basically useless. However, it can have some super niche uses, like if a player throws a firebomb at a door, to stop you from pushing it, and you go, bugger you, I've got Salve Skin, so you sprint through the fire, ready to cab saber them, because your health will regenerate faster. That's pretty much it. It's cool, right? It's not great though. Just skip it, refund it, whatever. But it has some use, so it's whatever. Next up is Silent Killer, and please, 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 please do not be fooled. Silent Killer removes the inhale sound you make when you charge your weapon. When you go to strike with a melee, like a charge melee, your character will make a noise. Silent Killer removes that. A lot of people think that makes it kind of useless because it doesn't stop, the noise it makes from killing a grunt or a zombie, which would be fantastic. However, it's not useless. I've won many, many a melee fight by running around a corner during, I'm being shot at, and I run around a corner and I charge a melee attack and they'll sprint at me to come and finish me off. And as I hear them sprinting at me, I'll swing around the corner and stab them in the face. All totally unbeknownst to them because they didn't hear me charging the melee swing because of Silent Killer. It's happened more than once, I'd say more than 10 times I've killed people that way, more than 20 even, and it's even happened to me a few times. I've charged someone and they've had it and I've had no idea and I've just played right into their hands. It's embarrassing when it happens. It denies sound and it denies information given to the enemy players. So denying sound denies information, yeah, that's a win-win. Next up is Steady Game and Steady Hand. Listen, I've got friends who swear by these 2 traits. And they know who they are. And they're probably listening to this right now. They swear by them. They're like, oh, they're really good, Alan. They're really good. But personally, I just don't see much of a difference to bother, running them. The sway reduction is gradual, meaning it won't come into effect immediately. And you'll have to have been looking down the scope, ADSing prior to any sort of use. And sway has already been reduced a lot already. And it can be further reduced by crouching. So that's sort of a skip for me, but your mileage might vary, especially for one of those 2 people who I know, again, are listening to this, and just, you're the worst. You're the only, you're the only reason I put this in the video, right? You're the only reason. Otherwise, I would have just left it entirely and just whatever. Moving on. Tomahawk, oh boy, without a doubt, is the most fun value trait in Hunt. Allowing you to pick up a shovel and throw it at another player's head and hear that metallic clang as they die it's beautiful. Also, you can throw axes found in the world quite a ways away if you aim high enough. And it's a trait for memes. Don't get me wrong, it's purely for the memes. It's just for fun. But damn, is it fun when it works. Just, pitchforking someone in the head? Oh, so good. Next up is Vigilant, which is probably next to Bolt Seer. Probably the biggest quote-unquote noob-friendly trait in the game. Traps aren't used a whole bunch really in Hunt, and highlighting them usually isn't worth your time because once you play the game enough, you'll begin to know what windows and doors are trapped often. So if you know what windows and doors are trapped often, then you won't really need to highlight where the traps are because you'll just expect them and you'll see them with your eyes. This is a trait that kind of fades in usefulness as your experience increases. So yeah, if you're a noob or you don't know all that stuff, yeah, definitely, why not? Give it a look in. You might not hate it. And finally, Vulture. The Loot Goblin trait. The Haplo trait, as we call it. It's a trait that's only viable in the trio game mode, and even then, it's really just for extra loot. If you're a Loot Goblin, then you might just enjoy picking up more things and more stuff. But usually, this will get, removed by me in favor of something tastier. It's only good in trios. You can only do it in trios because that's the only one where there's 3 people to loot stuff. Or potentially you can walk up on a corpse that's already been, killed by other players and then loot it for a 3rd time. If that's your thing, I get it. That's the name Vulture. You're a vulture. You come in and get more loot. But if you're coming in to get more loot, then you haven't done the killing in the first place, and you would have been better off doing. You get me? Yeah. Not bad. I generally remove it. Anyway, now you know. And actually, that's it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're done. I didn't even know. That only took us, almost 40 minutes. Yay! And there you have it. That's every single trait in Hunt Showdown. My goodness, we got there. And explained as well by me. Go me. This was my first, I suppose, educational video. So definitely, please, be sure to let me know how much you hated it in the comments below, or, come yell at me live, 6 days a week on Twitch. Either way, I look forward to some feedback. Thank you so much for being here. You're all wonderful. If you've made it this far, then hats off to you. You wonderful beans. I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.